Sego. Sego's gonna go a seo guego. What when we're at on. Terry Lynn Brennan Units. Can you haga British na jututan? Go weno gueski go weno de nugari. Shugan na jitteran. So hello and welcome. Welcome to this land on which we all currently share, live, work, and play on. My name is Terry Lynn Brennan, and I identify as mixed Mohawk, people of the Flint, and British. I currently live on Long Island Standing, colonially known as Wolfe Island off the coast of Kingston in eastern Ontario. An area of Turtle Island that has been occupied by some of my ancestors for millennia. And my family comes from Six Nations of the Grand River and Brantford, Ontario, respectfully. I have light skin, dark eyes with pale rimmed glasses and long brown hair. I have on a light gray sweater and a Norval Morisseau designed multicolored blue scarf around my neck. My background is my kitchen, which is mostly light colored wood and perhaps glimpses every now and then of my black and white dog's tail might flick across the screen over the next few minutes. In the language of my ancestors at the beginning and the opening, I asked, as expected in my tradition upon meeting new people, do you still carry the Great Peace? And this is a peace that unified the Haudenosaunee Confederacy many centuries ago. And it's a humble way to ensure that we have all come together with intentions to offer respect, kindness, and generosity to all who are here today. We therefore agree to listen not only with our ears, but also with our hearts and minds. As also is the tradition of my people, we are instructed that prior to any business taking place, we are responsible to say the words that come before all others. Some might know it as the Thanksgiving address. To the Mohawk people, it is called the Onagari Dedekwa. This address can take up to 3 days to recite in its entirety, but I'm going to offer a short video by Tehente. I'm terrible sometimes with my Mohawk, who sums up the words beautifully in just 3 minutes, as opposed to 3 days. The address is meant to acknowledge and give thanks to creation and all that has been provided for us, so we remember what is truly important in all matters and allows us to come together as one for the work we are about to undertake here this afternoon.
Daye tina wadado na ungwai sua. Togari na yo tohage na ngwa niguna. Daye tina wadado na yeti nistaha johwanjade. Togari na yo tohage na ngwa niguna. Daye tina wadado na gahniga sua. Togari na yo tohage na ngwa niguna. Daye tina wadado na gunjo sua. Daeto na yotoage na ngwa nigura. Dae tina wanado na yotunduni. Daeto na yotoage na ngwa nigura. Dae tina wanado na onokwa sua. Daeto gari na yotoage na ngwa nigura. Dae tina wanado na asa nigunda de gohogua. Daeto gari na yotoage na ngwa nigura. Dae tina warado ne wahyaniunta. Daeto gari na yotoage na ngwa nigura. Dae tina warado ne gundirdu. Daeto gari na yotoage na ngwa nigura. Dae tina warado ne garunda sua. Daeto gari na yotoage na ngwa nigura. Tahitino Horado, Nedzita Ogua, Ta Eto Garina Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Tahitino Horado, Nagayedi Nikawarage, Ta Eto Garina Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Tahitino Horado, Neeti Sotogo Radiweras, Ta Eto Garina Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Sidawano Horado, Netsidawa Tia, Anje Kene Garaqua. Ta Eto Garina Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Tahitino Horado, Neeti Sota Asta Neka Garaqua. Ta Eto Garina Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Tahitino Horado, Neozi Stoch Guadagno. Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Tahitino Horado, Nedium Kiadadum. Ta Eto Garina Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Tatsidawano Horado, Nesungwaya Dizu. Ta Eto Garina Yotohage, Nanagua Nigura. Ta Eto.
I'm excited to share in today's Enabling Change webinar, being brought to us by two extremely beautiful women that I have had the pleasure of working with over the years, Alex and Rachel. This program is being brought to you through the financial assistance of the Ontario Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility, and through the collaboration with our partners from Ontario Presents at Orchestras Canada and Russo Ontario. Thank you for joining us today. Nyawagoa. And now over to Fanny and Rachel to get us started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Terry-Lynn. I feel grounded. Hello and bonjour to everyone joining us today. My name is Fanny Martin. I'm a 40-year-old white woman, originally from France, hence the rather strong French accent. And I lived several years in England, so I also have some hints of British English in my accent and in my vocabulary, just to warn you. So I have long dark brown hair with bangs, and today I'm wearing a red, black and white checkered dress and white earrings in the shape of clouds. I'm sitting in my apartment in Toronto, Takaronto, and you can see some abstract prints on the wall to my left and some plants that I can't manage to die, they're the good kind, just behind me. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to Enabling Change, Accessibility for the Performing Arts. This is our third session in a 6-part learning series. And today, actually, I'm filling in for Rachel Marks, who has been your host for the previous sessions and will continue to be later on too. And she is also the curator for this full series. I'm relieving her of her hosting duties today because then she can fully focus on presenting. So we will hear a lot from Rachel today. Hey, Rachel. And I will be passing over to Lauren for some comprehensive technical notes. But before that, I would like to name and thank our many interpreters today. So we have on the French-English simultaneous interpretation, we have Daniel Allard and Myrlène Metellus. ASL interpreters today are Vanessa Bailey and Matt Tell. We have LSQ interpreters too, Anne-Marie Côté and Marie-Jacques de la Sablonnière Tremblay. And our captioner today is Laurie Surtees. Thank you, all of you, for helping us to make this series truly accessible. Over to you, Lauren. Thank you. That's the end of my thoughts.
Thank you, Fanny, and thank you, Terry-Lynn. Thank you to all our interpreters. Hi all, this is Lauren Drew of Orchestras Canada speaking. For a visual description, I am a white woman in my 20s. I have gold-rimmed glasses, shoulder-length dark brown hair, and I'm wearing a black and gray band t-shirt. Behind me is a gray wall with a couple of prints on it. My pronouns are she and her. So I'll be taking some time to walk through the tech notes with you. We're excited to be working with a number of professional interpreters and captioners to make today's learning accessible for colleagues with or without disabilities, French or English language. So please be patient as we explain these Zoom steps. If you need a reminder later on, these were all sent to you in written form via email yesterday. So first, using French-English simultaneous interpretation, on the screen is a screenshot of the interpretation button, which looks like a globe. So to turn on the interpretation, navigate through your Zoom controls to that button at the bottom. So you'll see it either shaped like a globe or hear the title as interpretation. Select that icon and the following options will come up, French or English. Choose the one that you would like to use. And please note that both our presenters will be using PowerPoints. They will be shown in English on screen, but we will paste links to the French translated versions in the chat. Moving along, using ASL and LSQ interpretation, please make sure you have the speaker view setting turned on. On the screen is a screenshot of the button that you might see for that. Please note that the ASL and LSQ interpreters will switch out with their co-interpreter every so often by turning their camera on and off. You can move the video boxes around to reposition the interpreters for a better view. Do this by clicking, holding the mouse click, and dragging the interpreter's video box to the place that's best for you to view. As I mentioned, our presenters will be using PowerPoints. So during the PowerPoint presentations, you can resize the view so that the PowerPoint is a bit smaller, the interpreter video is a bit bigger. To do so, press the Escape key on your keyboard, exit the full screen view of Zoom. Then you can hover your mouse over the grayish line between the screen share and the video feeds. And drag that to the left to make them larger. Using live captioning, so I've changed the slide to show a screenshot of the live transcript button at the bottom of the screen. So note that this is a real person. Her name is Lori, writing the captions, and there might be a slight delay. Captions are only available in English. In the bottom of the Zoom window, use the live transcript button to enable them. Click the up arrow and click on Show Subtitle to start displaying them. If you'd like to hide live closed captions, also click the live transcript button, the up arrow, and click on Hide Subtitle. And finally, a few privacy notes. We are recording this session. Your video and your mics are turned off to reduce background noise, save internet bandwidth, so you won't show up in the recording. But please note that we will be saving a copy of the Zoom chat to keep track of questions for Friday's coffee chat. If you do not wish to have your full name displayed, you can edit it by going to the participant list in the right of your screen, right-clicking on your name and selecting rename. So if you have any issues, I can be your tech contact. So I'll put my name in the chat. Feel free to direct message me any tech questions, direct message to keep the general chat content focused. So that's all for my notes right now. And I will pass it back along to Fanny Martin.
Thank you so much, Lauren. This is Fanny speaking. Thank you for this technical guidance. And we can start without further ado. In today's session, we're delighted to welcome two guests. First, Alex Glass, who is currently Executive Director of Artsbuild Ontario. Alex will share with us her experience on venues and accessibility. After the break, we will be listening to Rachel's presentation, Rachel Marks, who will present on relaxed performance and access guides for venues. So if during these presentations and during the break, you have questions, comments, you have your own resources to share, feel free at any point to use the chat box. If there are questions that we can weave in the presentations, we will do so as we can today. If there are questions that take a longer time to answer or need a bit of thinking about, then this is good material for our Friday coffee chats. A quick reminder here that the Friday coffee chats always follow the plenary sessions. These are relaxed meetings where we can get to know each other better and we can get deeper into these questions. You need to pre-register to attend so that we know what access needs are required and also how many people to expect so we can adjust and really be there for the people in the room. So let's get started in our third session in this Enabling Change series. In previous sessions, we learned about legislation, about hidden disabilities, about accessible marketing. And we also know from the feedback that we get from you that you're learning about many other aspects of accessibility, like inclusion, disability rights, accommodation. So today, another big topic to tackle, and everything is connected. So, we're here to learn together. And we're delighted to have Alex to guide us and to share her expertise with us. Alex, over to you.
Thank you very much, Fanny, and everyone and the partners for having me here today. I'm just going to take a moment to share my screen and bring up my PowerPoint presentation. All right. So, venues and accessibility. My name is Alex Glass. Thank you for the introduction earlier. And I am a white woman in my 30s. I have a blonde hair, glasses, a black shirt, and I'm wearing headphones. My background is a white wall, and my pronouns are she and her. The goal for today is to understand better practices for making performance art venues accessible for artists, staff, and audiences. My hope is that you will walk away with a new perspective, confirm some concepts that you already knew, and leave you feeling supported, applying practices that help to create more equitable spaces for people with disabilities. Arts Build Ontario is a nonprofit provincial arts service organization that supports the needs of our art spaces. We do this through offering programs, services, and tools to organizations province-wide that are managing or dealing with any space-related issue. We were established 17 years ago by other art service organizations because they determined that space was critical to all disciplines. So we are happy to be a multidisciplinary organization. And we typically engage with small to mid-sized spaces although larger spaces have participated in our programs, but we typically focus on those small to medium-sized nonprofit organizations. Our programs include peer-to-peer mentoring, the learning series that provides workshops and webinars on relevant and timely topics, and our asset planner program that provides asset management software. We also undertake projects such as the Indigenous Creative Spaces Project and Mapping Northern Creative Spaces, which are ongoing. As an organization that is immersed in space and issues surrounding space regularly, we are continually both surprised and also encouraged at the projects in our communities. We are invested in understanding and sharing the successes and failures so that our communities can learn from one another. And while we offer programs that support our arts organizations in their spaces, we also advocate to decision makers at all levels of government for continual investment in sustainable arts facilities. In 2019, Arts Build Ontario also undertook an Enabling Change project where we created a toolkit for creative spaces in Ontario, as well as 6 supporting webinars. Both the toolkit and the webinars are aimed at increasing awareness of the Design of Public Spaces standard under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act. They provide information on how to go beyond the standards to ensure accessibility and inclusion are at the forefront of building and managing creative spaces. Both the toolkit and the webinars are available on our website. So, topics for today. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to accessibility in public spaces. In fact, accessibility has been identified as the top priority for arts organizations in their services, programs, and spaces for facilities in Ontario, with 63% of our network identifying they plan to take on an accessibility capital project in the next 5 years. In our time together today, we will cover 3 areas when thinking about accessibility and facilities. First of all, the approach to accessibility. How do you and your organization think about it, and how does it factor into your strategic plans and your operational plans? Accessibility and performance venues, what to look for in a venue, and project examples and funding, what organizations have done to make their spaces more accessible and how are they funded. So where to start? Consider where you're placed in the spaces. Some organizations own their venues, others have operational partnerships with municipalities, and many rent their spaces. Those that operate and rent their spaces can feel limited in changing the building's design structure and can be left scratching their heads when thinking about how to make their space more accessible. A great place to start is to think about how your organization approaches accessibility. This can go a long way in making a more accessible venue experience. Many of the topics we are approaching reference the Accessibility for Ontarians Disability Act, otherwise known as the AODA. But we recognize that many of the participants who are joining us today are outside the province of Ontario. And a lot of these practices can be applied across the board, but we do encourage you to reference your own province's legislation as well. Many performing arts groups and venues are working towards the inclusion of their whole communities, both on stage and in the audience. According to a 2012 Statistics Canada survey on employment, 5% of people with severe disabilities work in the arts, entertainment, and recreation sectors, and about 4% have mild disabilities. So the need is there to support everybody. And understanding a venue from the points of view of audiences, artists, and staff with disabilities are essential when thinking about and approaching accessibility. For instance, people with mobility issues are often left out of the big picture of a production and have to figure out alternative solutions for themselves, like arriving early or having an attendant with them to navigate the space. Often it's the responsibility of the person with the disability to find solutions to problems that shouldn't be there in the first place. And for venues, often people stop short at wheelchair accessibility. And this is important, but there is also a need for a 360-degree approach to accessibility with the built environment, such as all gender accessible washrooms and well-displayed information on everything from venue capacity to the height of door gaps. Now, the list is long, and we will tackle some of those a little bit later in this presentation. But let's start with the approach to accessibility. In order for accessible programs and services to be successful in your organization, accessibility should be included in your strategic vision. This alignment may challenge the basic structure of how your organization operates, such as noise control, quiet spaces, no photography. An initial discussion to build and collaborate between departments can support everyone's commitment to better accessible practices. And cooperation between departments spreads awareness that accessibility is a key consideration when planning for programs and events. It allows staff and volunteers to learn from one another and along the way, and to be supportive of actioning these changes. Eventually, accessibility becomes baked into your service offerings. For those of you that own your facility or are planning a capital project, inclusive design has a positive return on investment. Greater audience, increased customer loyalty, wider audience diversity, greater usability for all. Almost every organization taking on a large capital project includes additions or improvements that address accessibility in their facility. And while many of you don't necessarily own or operate a building, there are still many actions you can take to ensure you are providing the most equitable and accommodating experience for all. So how are you baking it in? Creating accessible experience for artists, staff, and audiences shouldn't be a one-off. You can make some simple changes to the organizational infrastructure to effectively bake accessibility into your operations. Consider establishing an accessibility advisory committee or working group to lead an evaluation process and provide insight into needed changes. Fun fact, this is what sparked a renovation project for the Al Green Theatre at the Miles Nadal Jewish Community Center a few years ago. Consider a statement of commitment or policy. This is an opportunity to state your standards and intention to break down barriers and increase accessibility and participation for people with disabilities. Policies usually address the areas of information and communications and employment, and venue accessibility is included throughout these. Consider representation not only through staff and volunteers, but in your organization's governance. There are many free resources available that offer training to everybody in the organization. And accessibility training promotes an accessibility culture throughout the organization and is a good reminder that accessibility is everybody's job. And consider an accessibility audit, which measures the overall usability of a building and its site. The audit uses universal design principles, building code requirements, national and international standards, and best practices and guidelines. So when thinking about creating an accessible space and experience for artists and staff, you can start with a conversation. And being the one to ask the questions is a really proactive approach to supporting the individuals that you're working with and who are working with you. General questions can include, do you have any allergies or sensitivities we should be aware of? What are your preferred methods of communication? What service requirements for meetings and public engagements will you need? Examples can include an oral interpreter, assistive listening systems, real-time captioners, and note takers. And do you have any interpretation needs, such as language, ASL, LSQ? Do you have a personal attendant or support worker? What is their name and contact information? And do you have any mobility or travel needs? These are just a few, and just to get the conversation going. And when we get to performances, you can get even more specific with the venue needs. Asking questions like, is there access from drop-off to the stage? Are there adequate accessible parking spaces? Is the load-in zone safe and accessible for actors and the crew with disabilities? Some performers cannot navigate stairs, and even one step from the sidewalk to the entrance door can prevent an actor in a wheelchair from entering the venue. So really looking at it in that 360-degree perspective is important. Some more questions to consider. Can performers access the stage from the house and the wings without going up steps? Some theaters have chair lifts that provide access. Are there accessible restrooms for performers that are located close to the stage? Some performers may need to use the restroom right before they perform, or may have to leave the stage to use the restroom as well. Are the restrooms really accessible? Just because you have grab bars installed does not make your restroom accessible for someone in a power wheelchair and their aide. Restroom stalls should have enough room for both the wheelchair to navigate and to include a personal care provider as needed. Are the green rooms or dressing rooms accessible for actors with mobility issues? If dressing rooms are on another floor, they must be accessible by an elevator. And do you have ramps available to accommodate actors in wheelchairs on stage as well as off? And you note that designers should be aware of performers in wheelchairs or anybody with a disability so that they can design a set that allows for the actor to make safe entrances and exits and include them within the stage settings. With the sound system, or will the sound system cover the actor's needs? And do you have enough clip-on mics for each of the actors? And amplification is an essential aspect for many people with disabilities. And can the venue offer stage lighting that provides a general wash without a bright glare that can limit performers' abilities to move and see while on stage? Consider having that conversation around the accessibility needs of the artist and being open to subsequent meetings when working with them. This is often an evolutionary journey and conversation, and doing it right from the beginning can be so helpful. And sharing your accessibility policies with the artists that you're working with, letting them know how you're committed, and knowing that these policies can evolve as you continue to better your practices. And making a questionnaire around accessibility needs within your contract or letter of agreement, making it part of that process when you begin your work. Participant profiles can be beneficial for actors, staff, volunteers, and patrons. An organization will want to know what supports can be provided for an individual that they're working with, or that is a really regular patron that they're looking to address the specific needs. This document can be built with the individual in mind and stay within the organization, so there's a continuity of support internally. It is a confidential document, and you'll definitely want to consider your organization's policy on collecting and using personal information for programming. Participant feedback forms. Feedback forms provide insight into what worked and what can be improved in future programming and in the venue itself. All comments should be considered in the next stages of program research, development, and implementation. And if a participant requires assistance, a staff person or volunteer can conduct a brief interview instead. Some relevant questions that can be included on your feedback form can be, how did you hear about the program? What activity did you enjoy the most? Did you encounter any challenges during your visit? Could you hear and interpret the information? And what are some areas of the program that can be improved? Feedback forms should remain anonymous to maintain a fair and biased account of the comments submitted. And if you receive feedback from participants after a program, create a summary and share with your staff and volunteers. Evaluate any program highlights, positive experience, and areas of concern or needs that can be accommodated in the future. Now that we've chatted about the approach to accessibility, let's talk about the venues. What's in a venue? I've read Romeo and Juliet so many times, I couldn't help myself. I apologize. The key to making performing arts events inclusive and accessible, to think about barriers that could exist. We have to think about barriers that could exist for people with disabilities and address them at the planning stage of your production or your event. Much of this comes down to the venue itself. Whenever possible, be sure to visit the site of your venue. This can be your longstanding venue that you've performed in for decades, or a church hall, or anywhere that you are that you've been in for a long time, and really looking at it again through that accessibility lens. And always include people with different disabilities in this process. It's a 360 approach, as I've mentioned before. So getting as much representation in that evaluation as possible is really important. Considerations in your venue to look out for. So acoustics is one. Does the main room have a loud echo? Environments with significant echo create barriers for those who are hard of hearing. Doors and entrances, are automatic doors available? And if not, make sure you can prop the door open, or at least make sure that there will be volunteers who can help people to try to get through. Upon entry, there should be a paved ramp or wheelchair entry as well. Fire safety plans. Review your building's fire safety plan for all duties and access for how people with disabilities will be addressed throughout the plan. So oftentimes we don't actually realize, but those who are occupying the building or have delegated authority in the space are actually responsible for their fire safety plans. So just making sure people with disabilities and accessibility is included through that, and being familiar about what that looks like. Fixed waiting lines. These requirements apply to fixed queuing guides or permanent fences or railings that require customers to line up and follow a set path. So you're lining up for rides at an amusement park, not necessarily your performing arts, but like a line that you would wait in a queue for. You are required to ensure that the fixed waiting line is wide enough for people with disabilities to move through easily with their mobility aids, such as wheelchairs, scooters, canes, crutches, and walkers. Ensure there is enough room for people using mobility aids to navigate around corners where the line changes direction, and ensure that people using canes can find the fixed waiting line by taping on posts or railings or set close to the ground. Lighting, you want to find spaces that have balanced lighting when possible. Avoid flashing lights or strobes in your selected venues, as they can cause seizures. Outdoor and indoor surfaces. Are there barriers along indoor and outdoor paths that might cause problems for people who use canes, crutches, or wheelchairs? Make sure things like garbage cans and sandwich boards can be moved, so there is at least a 1 meter wide path of travel for people using wheelchairs or walkers. And check if surfaces are level, firm, and stable. Avoid thick pile-up carpet or loose mats. Parking, is there any? And where is it? Is also a big one for many of our arts venues. But most importantly, is there accessible parking? These are things you need to know, and things you need to let your guests know about too. And quiet spaces. Consider a venue that offers quiet spaces to reduce stimuli and distractions. Seating. There are several ways you can make sure people with disabilities can sit comfortably and enjoy themselves. Reserve seating for people with various disabilities and consider the nature of their disability. For example, people who rely on lip reading will need to sit closer to the speakers. Provide a variety of chairs with or without armrests. Provide seating for those who can't stand for long periods of time, especially if the performance is mostly a standing event. And consider different access points when designing fixed seating in theaters and performance venues. So oftentimes all the accessible seating is bunched together. If it can be dispersed in different areas that are easily accessible in the audience, in the seating setup, when designing a venue, it can be really interesting and provide multiple perspectives for those who need accessible seating. Service counters and waiting areas. Service counters may be desks or counter spaces where people have face-to-face conversations with staff, like a ticketing window. To meet the accessibility requirements, you must make at least one service counter accessible to people who use mobility aids, such as wheelchairs. And the area should be low enough to allow the person to interact with the person providing the service. And clearly identify all your accessible service counters with signs. Signage. Ensure that all signs are clear and legible to direct your patrons upon arrival. Easy to read signs in Braille are important, and use common words and simple short sentences to make signs easy to understand. This includes signs in the parking lot directing patrons to the venue or activity location. Transportation. Is the venue close to public transportation, and are the transit routes serving that route accessible? If so, your guests will need to know where the passenger drop-off areas are located. Waiting areas with fixed seating. In many waiting areas, the seating is fixed to the floor, not necessarily for all performing arts venue, but there are some, and you at least must have at least 3% of all seats accessible. And washrooms, again, are your washrooms really accessible? Is there room on the floor area beyond the swing of the door for a wheelchair or walker to get through? And check also that there are grab bars and that a person using a wheelchair can reach the sink, soap, and paper towels and hand dryer comfortably. So once you've visited your venue and taken a look at all that it has to offer, or considered any alternatives that you occupying the space can add on to the experience, you will need to inform your audience about what these alternatives and points of accessibility are throughout the venue. So this can include providing contact information of your organization or whoever is in charge of the event, so people with disabilities can learn about the accessibility features you noted, or let you know about their accommodations so they can participate. Use a variety of ways to communicate, such as telephone, email, and print, to ensure that everyone receives the information they need and are able to provide information back to you in a way that works best for them. And of course, use at least 12-point sans serif fonts, such as Arial or print materials. Virtual tours. This is something that is really great universally for any venue that's looking to promote its space for use of, for artist use, for patron use. So when anybody, if you're able to put a virtual tour of the venue that you're using or your facility up on your website, an individual can experience that tour and really understand how that facility works. And I just, on the screen, there is an image of G. Lamont Hall at Trinity St. Paul Center for Faith in the Performing, or for Faith, Justice, and the Arts. That's their title. And this is, of course, Taffel Music's home and where they perform as well. So consider virtual tours are a great consideration for informing your audience. Accessible events. There are a few additional considerations to keep in mind when thinking about accessible venues and performances. So food and refreshments. You can think about providing bendable straws as well as some cups with handles. People who have limited use of their hands have difficulty grasping or holding objects such as cups. And ask volunteers to offer assistance or seated services to guests with disabilities. Clear floor spaces. Make aisles or space around tables wide enough for people using mobility aids, such as wheelchairs or walkers, to easily move. An aisle width of about 1 meter, as we mentioned before, is recommended. And in addition, cover electrical cables or cords that cross over aisles or pathways so everyone can safely get across them. Speeches and presentations. If your program has speeches or a presentation included, use a microphone, speak slowly, and describe images that are projected on the screen during a presentation. And consider the timing. Be aware that if a presentation or a program runs longer than planned, people who use specialized transportation services may need to leave your event on time. Service animals. Service animals are welcome in public areas and where food is served, although not where food is prepared. And make sure there is a relief area for these animals, and make sure their owners know where it is. Also, like you and other guests, service animals can get thirsty. So having a water bowl on hand is a very good way to make a guest with a service animal feel welcome. And volunteers and staff. Volunteers make a big difference. They can do a great job supporting performances and events and make them feel more inclusive and welcoming for people with disabilities. Offer training to your volunteers and staff who are participating during performances and events, and assign a volunteer to troubleshoot and resolve accessibility barriers on the day of the event. There's one point person that can be there ready with the solutions and the alternatives and have that knowledge that can help in the moment. And remind your volunteers not to make assumptions about what a person with a disability can or cannot do. Tell them simply to ask, how can I help? So with that in mind, we've taken a look at, okay, how are we approaching accessibility? We've taken a look at what to look for in venues. I just wanted to discuss a couple of project examples so you can get a feel for what others have done when addressing accessibility in their space. So while not all venues serve the performing arts are accessible, they are actively addressing spaces. So many of the spaces that we find ourselves in are heritage spaces. There's doing new renovation projects aren't necessarily possible based off of restrictions, and it's a really hard nut to crack. And so, but there are ways to make your venue more accessible. And so we're going to look at Mirvish in particular. It was not this one. I don't know if anybody on the presentation heard of the show Blindness that ran during the pandemic. I believe it was in summer and fall of 2021. But on the screen is a picture of patrons experiencing Mirvish's production of Blindness. And the picture shows patrons seated apart, wearing blindfolds with long lights hanging ominously above their heads. This is a great example of where accessible programming and the built environment work together. Blindness took place on the Princess of Wales stage, where patrons were seated 6 feet apart. And Blindness it's a sound installation. So the premise was it covered an epidemic of blindness in a city throughout Europe. So all the patrons were listening to the performance, an audio recording. And while exciting for the time, this isn't a perfect recipe by any means. There are flashing lights. There were blackout periods during the performance. And also it's not accessible for those who might have low hearing as well. So the concept, though, could inspire how productions and performance venues and audiences experience accessibility together. So it is a really interesting concept to kind of look at, learn from, and maybe apply later on in the future. I also wanted to chat about Miles Nadal Jewish Community Center and their Al Green Theater. On the screen is a picture of the Al Green Theater and their seating. There's empty blue seats in rows that are going up. From November 2017 to September 2019, the Miles Nadal Jewish Community Center undertook a few accessibility upgrades in the Al Green Theater with a budget of just under $700,000. They addressed four areas. Stage accessibility. They purchased a non-electric portable stage lift that cranks up onto the stage, as well as a portable ramp. So they move it in and move it out based off of the needs of the production at the time. Seating accessibility. The seating was completely replaced with a modular system with the ability to remove the front row of chairs for patrons in wheelchairs, as well as their companions. And their new, modern, and comfortable telescopic seating system is easy to maneuver and offers 8 additional seating, accessible seats that they didn't have before, and companion seats as well. The overall venue accessibility was addressed. They added push buttons to the doors, as well as light access in the washrooms surrounding the venue in the building, and accessible technology. The radio frequency audio system, which is used to broadcast an audio signal from the technical booth to assisted hearing devices, was retrofitted to better enhance what was happening on stage. And the speakers were cleared from the stage. They were originally on there, part of the production. They're now hanging on the walls. And so the sound has improved with that move as well. And they also got a 16-foot wide screen that comes down from the proscenium, which was installed and offers better communication during performances. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the Meridian Arts Center. Some of you may be familiar with this beautiful space. Pictured here is an image of rows of purple theater seating in the George Weston Recital Hall at the Meridian Arts Center. This is a $5 million project that was announced in July 2021. Accessible seating will be added and expanded in the center's Lyric Theater, the George Weston Recital Hall, which you see here on the screen, and the Greenwind Theater. Other improvements include the conversion of a control room to a barrier-free workspace, the addition of a list to allow access to the stage from the orchestra level, and the installation of an elevator for better access to seating areas and to the control room for employees. So this project's really interesting because we in this particular presentation, we're focusing on audiences as well as creating accessible workplaces. So this project caught my eye when it was announced because it is addressing both the front of house and the back of house. Lastly, I just wanted to talk about funding. So many of you operate your spaces, but you know, if you don't own your venue, you have a lot of influence if you're a regular renter on how it operates. So there are opportunities on how you can advocate for changes, potentially partner with the organization in the venue to explore additions that can make a more accessible experience for all. Some of our funders that I wanted to make mention of include the Canada Cultural Spaces Fund. They have a rolling deadline, they're a matching fund, and their program officers are always willing to connect with you on any projects that you have in mind. And also the Enabling Accessibility Fund, which is also a federal fund as well. This deadline is often announced just with a few months' notice. So ArtsBuild is always quick to share it when we catch wind of when the applications are open every year. And that can also go towards supporting accessibility projects in your venues. And at the provincial level, there's the Ontario Trillium Foundation. And so this funding stream just came back as of, I think it was announced about a month ago. The deadline is August 3rd, 2022. And it's not a matching fund. And so it covers projects, I believe, up to $150,000. So in summary, we discussed how organizations can approach accessibility by baking it into your strategy and operations. Making sure people with disabilities are included in your work to apply better practices and take a look at what others are doing. My goodness. When imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So we can take a look at what others are doing and borrow and see what applies to our own needs. Yeah, we can learn a lot from each other when evaluating and implementing these changes. So that is it for me at the moment. And I believe we're leaving questions till the end. And I can see a few in the chat box. So I'm looking forward to addressing those towards the end of the presentation today. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much for this comprehensive overview. We know that there is a lot more to cover and so many subtle details as well that are relevant to each single built environment. So this is, you know, an introduction with general guidelines and some avenues to explore. We're going to take a break now. Because we want to keep questions for afterwards. I think when we can bring together the questions you may have from Alex's presentation and the questions that will arise from Rachel's presentation, we can get into this really rich zone of practice. So 10-minute break. This means we'll be back at 2:30. Which is really lovely because it will give us more breathing space at the end. Wonderful. Thank you again, Alex. Thank you to all our interpreters as well. We see you back at 2:30 EST. Yes. See you very soon. Hello, bonjour. We're back slowly from the break. Let's take our time to settle back in. Make sure you've got what you need, glass of water, cup of tea, top up your coffee, a cushion. I'm stealing all Rachel's tips here. Thank you again to Alex Glass for this comprehensive overview of accessibility in the built environment. I hope that you're still digesting, and we know there is a lot to cover there. If you have questions, please do pop them in the chat box. You can also save them. You can send them by email to Lauren. She'll put her email into the chat as well. If you want to save them for Friday, no problem neither, because sometimes it's hard to formulate exactly what we want to get to, or we're not sure we're using the right words, or all that sort of thing. We're here to open up all that awkwardness. We're here to be open with each other, to be generous We're here to learn. And there's always a lot to learn. That's the beauty of life. We've got some people who are experts, but they're also learning. And this is why actually we invite them to share with us, because they're sharing what they are learning. That's actually perfect segue for Rachel, because Rachel is absolutely a lifelong learner. And you will now talk to us about things that are very close to your heart: relaxed performances and accessibility at large in the performing arts. I know, Rachel, that this is something that you love to talk about. So here we go. The floor is yours. That's the end of my thoughts.
Thanks, Fanny. This is Rachel speaking. I am a middle-aged white woman with light purple chin-length hair. I have purple cat's eye glasses with a little bit of glitter at the side. And today I'm wearing long beaded purple earrings and a black top. Over my right hand shoulder is a white fireplace with a teal mantelpiece, and over my left is the door to my office and a white wall with a black chalkboard. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. If you were here 2 weeks ago for Christina's session or on the Friday, she had mentioned that she was leaving us with some quick wins. And I kind of feel like I'm going to help you achieve that quick win, that little bit of action to Alex's presentation, which was amazing. Thank you, Alex, so much. I've actually made pages of notes. So I really appreciate that. So I am going to share my screen. I always have problems with this, so I'm going to apologize in advance, but we're a relaxed group and we're here to relax processes and everything. So I feel you'll be okay with that. And I'll also just mention that my dogs were completely quiet during Alex's presentation. So that makes me feel like they're going to bark during mine, which is just the way it goes, unfortunately. So here we go. I am here today to speak with you about venue guides. So first of all, I would like to say that all of my slides are white with black writing. The black writing is generally oriented to the left or the center of the page, and there is only one page with an image on, which is the next page, and I'll give a description of that image as we go. I also tend to write my slides as I speak, so I will be saying pretty much what's on the slides. So first, an overview of the things we'll be speaking about today. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I feel like you've gotten to know me over the past couple sessions, but I'll give you a little more info. I'm going to give you a very short little history of relaxed performances because this is where venue guides grew out of. Venue guide versus fact sheet is the next topic. A venue guide by any other name. Let's get to the work. Language. Really importantly, we don't run the venue. It's not our responsibility. Who benefits from access and inclusion? How can we make our spaces more inclusionary? Making community connections, and overall thoughts and time for questions. Okay, so this is a slide with an image. On the right-hand side of the slide is my headshot. At the time, I had short pink hair with red cat's eye glasses. I'm again wearing a black top, and I'm sitting in a brown striped chair. On the left words, it's me, but with pink hair. I am a former box office and front of house staff member. I'm a former stage manager. I am a playwright. I have worked in autism. I've been a theater teacher, and currently I am the network coordinator for Rezo Spark Network and the accessibility and booking coordinator for Rosny Theater, as well as being a relaxed performance and disability arts consultant and advocate. A couple of years ago, when I first met Fanny, she mentioned this quote, this article of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And in those years, it has really informed my work. And that is that everyone has the right to freely participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. And that is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 27. Okay, what is a relaxed performance? So the main thing to remember when planning a relaxed performance is that pre-planning will lessen the anxiety of your audience members, and a less anxious audience member is more open to experiencing the show, concert, or performance that you are presenting and to enjoying themselves. So a little bit of history. The relaxed performance movement started in the autism community. The first Broadway relaxed performance was Aladdin in 2011, but they've existed in Europe, especially the UK, for years. Changes are made to dampen the anxiety of the audience and lessen the sensory impact of the show and the venue and the space. That's something we don't often think about, is the sensory impact of our venue and our space. Relaxed performances allow for many different people to feel comfortable in art spaces. So blind, low vision, partially sighted, little d / capitally deaf and hard of hearing communities, neurodiverse, mobility device users, developmentally delayed or disabled, but also folks from various socioeconomic backgrounds, newcomers to the country, and historically excluded or marginalized communities. The list is endless. I witnessed this for myself the first time in 2018 when we had people coming to a Soul Pepper relaxed performance that I did not expect to attend. Folks who perhaps are undergoing chemotherapy and need to use the washroom more frequently and don't want to go to a regular or standard performance because they feel it would be disruptive to the audience. So relaxed performances are built, yes, out of the autism community, but really have expanded to create this space where everybody is welcome, which is great. It's a chance to diversify your audience and your artistic impact. How great is that? Lots of people think that a relaxed performance just means keeping the house lights on a bit and lowering any amplified sound or playing things softer. This is not really the case, although there are some standards for what lights and sound should be at, and I'm happy to share that with folks later. There's more that goes into it. A venue guide, and the venue guides are based off of social stories that autistic kids use to prepare for changes in routine or to learn about social interactions and to guide their behavior in new situations. A fact sheet, touch tours, so both touching, say, costumes or instruments, but also meeting your seat, understanding where you're sitting in the space. Box office is generally or should be given more information than might be typical, and front of house are definitely more casual in their approach to the audience. A quiet room might be set up, which Alex did talk about, and that's great, and we love having quiet rooms for shows, and there's some quick ways to do that, which we'll go over later. And other access points might be added, for instance, ASL, LSQ, audio description, etc. Okay. Venue guide versus fact sheet. So in a venue guide, each page has a picture and a short, succinct statement to help people prepare for the trip to the show. So for instance, this is the TSO venue guide here, and this page is getting here. And it says, I can take the subway, streetcar, or our personal vehicle. And there's a photo of the streetcar. The venue guide is oddly fairly genetic, yet very specific at the same time. And it covers the entire experience of including getting to the venue, clapping, leaving, etc. Whereas the fact sheet provides performance which is specific to the show, performance-specific information. So lighting changes that might be drastic or surprising, content triggers. For example, when we worked on Anne of Green Gables at the Thousand Islands Playhouse, we really needed to mention the death of Matthew because that could be emotionally triggering for some members of the audience. Fog, any different movement that the artists might do through the aisles or down in the venue, and then something unusual, again, another sort of throwback to a TSO concert where the orchestra members all stood up and shouted something out to the audience, which is not typical of an orchestral concert. So we really needed to make sure that the audience was prepared for that. A venue guide by any other name. So this is a little tricky. When I first started working on relaxed performances, we called our venue guides a visual story. And the reason is because it came from the term social story, as I mentioned earlier, used to help autistic children and youth prepare for social situations, changes in routines, things like that. I don't use that term anymore, and I'm going to share with you why. So although many people still say visual story or social story, I veered away from that for two reasons. The first, I feel like saying visual story is exclusionary to the blind, low vision, and partially sighted community. And second, there is a lot of controversy in the autistic community over certain therapies that are used with autistic children. And these therapies include the use of social stories. So out of respect for autistic people, I have stopped using the term visual story. However, we can use venue guide, or they're also known as access guide or wayfinding guide. Wayfinding guide is very typical in the UK. Access guide to me would include all of the information that you would find in the venue guide, as well as all of the information you would find in the fact sheet, which is why I keep them separate. A venue guide is something that can be created by a venue and can live on their website with minimal changes when things change in your venue, but can be there forever and is like it. I'm trying to think of a good thing to call it, but basically it's just there. It lives there. It helps staff. It helps patrons. It helps anybody coming to the venue. Whereas the fact sheet, as we know, is about the show. So it changes all the time. So for me, an access guide would contain both. The venue guide should be short, succinct, direct, and factual. There should be no emotion in it. All of the sentences should be clear. We should use the language, simple, concise language that Christina spoke about 2 weeks ago, and keep everything really simple. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Maps, maps, and more maps. Okay, I don't think you can get enough maps. If it's confusing, put in a map. Draw arrows on it. Show people how to get around your venue. Don't assume that people know your venue. And a venue guide should be a guide to attending any show in your venue, from arriving all the way through to departing. And again, I can't say this enough. Overall, it should be a way to lessen anxiety for the audience. If your audience is prepared, they're going to have a better experience, and so is your staff, and so are the folks on stage, and all around, everyone's going to work together to create this beautiful one-time live performance, which everybody enjoys. And the venue guide goes a long way to helping with that. In fact, I did a presentation years ago, and somebody said, I would love a venue guide for everywhere I go. Because it's true. We go to different places, different restaurants, and we don't know what to expect when we get there. And that can make anybody feel a little bit nervous, but especially if you have anxiety already, or if you are disabled or have a disability. Okay, so let's get into the work a little bit. And please let me know if I'm going too fast, and drop questions in the chat at any time. And Fanny, feel free to interrupt me if there are any questions. So first person versus third person. I do a lot of work for children and youth, and so we use first person for people who may not yet have developed the skill of being able to put themselves into a story or to translate things from third person into first. So the sentence is, for instance, we go back to the TSO guide here. I can take the subway, streetcar, or our personal vehicle to the concert. The next page then goes on to, if I take the subway. So this is great for children and youth. For adults, however, it can be considered perhaps condescending. And so we use third person, and just to really allow people to work at their own level. Your photos should be current, clear, and large. And again, please use alt text and image descriptions. So what happens if you have all your pictures done pre-COVID and it's got audience members in, but nobody's wearing a mask? You know, notations can be made to your guide to say that. You can add an extra page at the beginning or at the end to let people know that the photos are perhaps a little out of date. But if it's about your actual architecture or your lobby setup, please try to keep your photos as current as possible. It should be a step-by-step guide with no detail too small to include. So if there's one step at the front door, please mention it. If there is a metal, some door frames have a metal bottom part that is slightly raised, that needs to be mentioned. So somebody who has poor mobility and can't lift their feet very much, that is a tripping hazard for them. So when you're walking through your venue, you should always do a walkthrough as you're preparing your venue guide. It's great to have community members with you, and it's great to look at your venue through fresh eyes or the eyes of someone who may not have been there before. Lobby announcements. Are you going to have lobby announcements? Are they recorded? How loud are they? Are there bells ringing? All of these things should be in your venue guide so that people know how to prepare. And you could add things like, if it's too loud, I can put my hands over my ears, or I could wear sound dampening headphones. Include how to pay for things. You know what? I travel a lot, and when I get to a new city with my car, some city car parks, you can pay with credit card. Some you can pay with cash. Some require coins. And it's very frustrating when I don't have the one thing that they take. So include how to pay for things, how to pay for parking, where the closest parking lot is, and what the cost is. This is going to set your audience and your patrons up for success. And you might be thinking, but it's not our parking lot. It's down the street. What does it matter? Well, if I get frustrated before I even get to your venue, the likelihood of me being and having a successful trip isn't very big. Where to go for things. So where to go for coat check, where to go for assisted hearing devices, washrooms, concessions, and who to go to for help. These are very important, especially to someone who may never have attended a live performing arts event before. Letting them know that ushers, food and beverage staff, box office staff are all here to help you goes a long way. Accessible seating. So Alex talked about this, and I really love the changes made to the Miles Nadal Theater because they have companion seating. And I was speaking with someone a while back, and they said, how come people always assume that I'm going to go to, they were a wheelchair user, I'm going to go to a show without any friends who are also wheelchair users? So kind of thinking about accessible seating, maximizing that wherever possible. Sure, it's difficult in heritage buildings and it's difficult in fixed seatings, but is there a way? What does the inside of a washroom look like? Are there automatic toilets, automatic hand dryers, more? So take pictures of the inside of your washrooms. Let people know what they look like. Let them know that the toilets are automatic. Let them know that the hand dryers and the taps are automatic. If possible, sometimes if you can switch out for paper towel on a day where you're having folks at a relaxed performance, that would be great. But if you have hand dryers and that's it, include that information. Again, if it's confusing, include a map. How to show appreciation. So this might seem strange, but you could be dealing with an audience that has felt unwelcome in performing art spaces before. So how do we show appreciation at your venue, at your show? Are we clapping? Can I stand up and say bravo? Can I woo? You know, what is the way that appreciation should be shown in the venue? Make sure to have a clear format. Don't overthink it. Don't try to put too much on one page. It shouldn't be messy or seem full. Don't be afraid to take a lot of pages. I feel like, and I know Pierre and Nicole are here, I feel like the TSO venue guide is close to 70 pages. And that's okay because everything is clear and laid out well. The format should lend itself to print and virtual use. So something that we've seen through these venue guides is folks at the beginning of stages of dementia using them. And they're using them on their smartphone, and they're coming to shows, and they have the venue guide open, and they're getting step-by-step instructions on, okay, this is where I show my ticket. Okay, now this is where I go to get a coffee. This is where I check my coat. And it gives them this sense of confidence because everyone else thinks they're just using their phone like everybody else in the venue. But they're having this security blanket that is helping them to retain some of their dignity and help them to continue to attend events that they've wanted to attend or have been attending for years. Now, a big thing that I really like to talk about is celebrating your access points, but making sure not to shy away from your limitations. So, Alex did a wonderful job of speaking about accessible washrooms and having enough room. That should definitely be documented. If you have accessible stalls in your gendered washrooms, but you don't have a standalone accessible washroom or family washroom, you need to think about letting people know that. Because if I'm attending and perhaps my caregiver is of a perceived different gender, how are they going to help me in the washroom unless we know that we're comfortable and safe to use any washroom? So these are things we need to think about. Do you have a washroom that's large enough for a mobility device, but there's no button on the door? So again, as Alex said, let people know that. Have that in your book. Have an usher or a volunteer set up so that they can help people to get in and out of the space. Your venue guide is going to be a really long document, and it will need to be updated when there are changes in the venue. So even if the size of the doors change, you had previously mentioned where the water fountains are, but they've moved. All of these things need to be updated and changed as you go along. Okay, language. So again, I mentioned 2 weeks ago when Christina was here that I was such a huge fan. And so I've not gone into a lot about language, but just, be clear, use simple language, give precise directions and instructions, and make sure that that is reinforced with the visual that you are attaching in the guide. So for instance, if it's a long walk from your front entrance to the entrance of the auditorium or the house, mention that. Give people specifics. Your venue guide should provide access to, again, not only neurodiverse audience members, but to the blind, low vision, partially sighted community, to mobility device users, to hidden disability patrons, to basically everyone, and even to your staff. New staff can be given a venue guide to help orient themselves. Same with volunteers. And it's a great project for new staff to help update your venue guide because they're seeing your venue for the first time in many cases, or they're seeing it comfortably for the first time. Repeat information if you feel it's needed. If your venue is confusing, or if there are 2 venues under one roof, 2 theaters in one space, be very specific and repeat the information as much as necessary. It is not rude. It is needed by a lot of people. Okay. Don't assume people know what you're talking about or have been to your venue before, even if it's the most prestigious venue or well-known venue in your area. I may never have thought I would be welcome in a space before, so I don't know your venue. So tell me everything about it. And also when you do, it's going to make that more exciting for me. Don't use industry terms, use regular language. So my husband works in the health industry and he constantly uses terms that I have no idea what he means. And so he's trying to tell a story and he's using these shortened industry terms and I'm completely lost. That's what somebody's going to be like reading your venue guide unless you're using, again, clear, simple language, and try to stay away from industry terms. And finally, just remember, not all people are the same. So don't assume that what one person needs is the same as what another person needs. So, I've heard people say before, is anything truly fully accessible? Because one person's access point might be another person's, might be a problem for another person. And then there's something I wanted to mention that is not on the slides, and I do apologize for that. And that is scent. If you have a policy on scents, so perfumes, colognes, things like that, please try to put that in the venue guide, or definitely at least on your website on your accessibility page. I feel like a lot of venues already have that. And we've had that for years. And, that is a quick win. That's definitely one of those quick wins. Having a perfume or cologne policy to help people who might have environmental illness and scent sensitivities. Okay, we don't run the venue. It's not our responsibility. No, but it is your show, and those are your patrons. And we all know customer service is a large part of performing arts. So think about your patrons. Don't think of it as it's not my venue. Think of it as those are my patrons. And what do I want to provide for my patrons? It's also just the right thing to do, right? Like we want to make sure that everybody's welcome. As artists, as presenters, as administrators, we want to share our art with the world. And so why would we exclude members of potential members of an audience? Again, so it will broaden the access to your shows, which in return will expand your patron base. It's an active offer, from, was it the Kevin Costner movie, Field of Dreams? I think I never saw it, but I know the phrase, build it and they will come. Yes, it's true. But after trust has been established, I was on a call about a month ago and somebody had said, oh, we had the show and we had an access guide and we had ASL, we had LSQ, we had audio description and no one came. And a presenter said, well, yeah, what did you do to build trust with that community? So creating the active offer is creating the event, creating the venue guide, offering those access points, and building trust within the disability community to a point where people will start coming. 2 people come with their families, have a great experience. They spread that knowledge. They let people know, and more people start coming. Another reason why is it offers value to the venue. Perhaps you can partner. You can say to the venue, hey, look, we've created this venue guide. Perhaps you could use it for a reduction in rent, or perhaps you could use it to maintain our partnership. There are many ways that you can talk to the venue about how you can partner on the venue guide. And you could lead the way for the venue to work towards getting funding to make changes that will benefit your patrons. Or perhaps you're able to apply for funding to make changes that could benefit your patrons. And I just really wanted to mention, and this is at the bottom of the slide, as a consultant, many, if not most, of my clients are companies who do not own or operate their own venues. So just throwing that out there. I really feel it's important to create these guides, and whether it's your venue or not. So at Roseneath last summer, we had a performance, Dream in High Park Stage, which is beautiful. And I created our own venue guide for it. Even though there was already one, we still created our own with things that we wanted to put in there. And that's okay. And we shared that. And it wasn't competitive at all. It was a great way for both the venue and us to work together and create something that positively impacted everyone who came to the show. Okay, I am not going to go into all the stats, but basically just it's here on the slides, which you're all getting a copy of, but just sort of some of the highlights. And the one thing that I wanted to speak about is that 1 in 4 Canadians are expected to experience or is expected to experience an anxiety disorder at some point in their lives. We're coming out of a global pandemic. This is the time. This is the time when people are going to experience anxiety. So in your venue guides, add your COVID protocols, whatever they might be upfront, let people know exactly what is expected of them and what they can expect of you. Anxiety is at an all-time high. We all know that. So just throwing that out there, and I'll leave the stats for you to go over in your own time. How can we make our spaces more inclusionary to disabled folks? Ask them. Yes, it seems simple. Ask them. And then be flexible. So you might see stimming or fidgeting, people eating snacks, people doodling, people on their phones during a show. So, often someone with ADHD might be on their phone playing a game so that they can experience the show in an auditory manner while keeping their focus. Talk to front of house and also let people know this is what's sort of happening. We're allowing phones, we're allowing, snacks. Some of this doesn't have to go in the venue guide, but why not? Understanding and education. So, continue that lifelong learning and check in with people. So what you can and can't see. So I feel that a lot of the arts world has responded to disabilities, visual disabilities, like those that we can see. But what about the neurodiverse community, the small d/D deaf community, the hard of hearing, the blind, low vision, partially sighted communities, and the hidden disability communities? A venue guide helps those people to prepare for the show. Again, be honest and upfront about what you can offer, celebrate those wins, and also what you're not able to offer. Set people up for success and manage their expectations. That, if I could sum up venue guide in a much shorter sentence, it would be set people up for success, manage expectations, and lessen their anxiety. And again, ask your colleagues what they're doing. When it comes to access and inclusion, sharing really is caring. Okay, making community connections. If you're unsure what to put in your venue guide to help potential audiences or employees, just ask the community, reach out, ask for advice, and then pay those people for their assistance. So if you have someone who regularly comes to your show, actually, this is great. This is an April Moon story from Canadian Stage years ago. Someone was coming to their show that was a mobility device user, and they would, say, hey, and they would call in when they had a problem. And so they invited that person in, and they spoke to them, and they had a conversation about what they needed and what would make their experience more robust and just better. And from that conversation, they were able to begin making changes. So don't be afraid. If you have a client or a patron that you see regularly coming into your shows, ask them. Ask what you can do to make things better. It's like those feedback forms that Alex mentioned. Fantastic. And then listen. Really listen to the information that the community gives you. So this isn't venue guides, but staff training. I just sort of wanted to bring this up. Be discerning. Not all agencies have good reputations and or are moving with the times. So look at the agencies that are actually used by the community for your trainings, rather than perhaps some of the big name organizations that get a lot of government funding. And then share resources. The ultimate goal is inclusion, not who got there first. Oh, sorry, one more slide. And my final thought is, do not underestimate the impact that a venue guide will have on the patrons. Many may never have felt comfortable enough to attend your venue prior to this. You are providing a safety net so that patrons can relax, be themselves, and engage in an artistic outing like never before. And at the bottom is just actually a blog that I wrote on disability community access for Culture Days. And so I ended early, and I think Alex did a little too, so that we could answer some questions.
Yeah, wonderful, Rachel. Thank you so much. It's good to finish early, isn't it? I mean, we have more space, and your pacing actually was really good. We have a few comments that popped into the chat. And Alex and Rachel, maybe there are some points as well that you want to reiterate, or things that you want to highlight as commonalities between your approaches. And then we'll get round to questions. Alex, how do you feel that Rachel's approach to venue guides and working with staff, etc., how does that resonate with your own experience?
Oh my gosh, I think it complements it very much. I think Rachel did such a good job of really including people with invisible disabilities, and bringing out the importance of fragrance, and making sure that that was addressed in any policies, which can often be missed, and be a real deterrent for some people who need that access. So I thought they blended well with each other, and it really, the way that you can communicate through a guide, even if it's your venue or not your venue, or there's already one out there, it meets your specific needs for how you're using that space. So I thought it was a really, really great place for organizations to get that quick win, as we've discussed.
Thanks. We have a practical question from Joanne, and these are always worth asking, and this is why we're here together. Is there funding available to create venue guides? And I'll extend the question to, how can we resource the creation of venue guides?
So, hi, this is Rachel speaking. Alex, I've just got a few comments, and then I'll flip over to you. Hi, Joe. Thanks for the question. I feel like there really could be a case made because it's going to live on your website, under some of the Canada Council for the Arts digital grants, definitely. Because I feel like, like I said, you can make a case. This is on our website. This is going to enhance our website. It's also going to enhance people attending, their experience. I had something else and it's completely gone out of my head. I'm so sorry, Alex.
I keep on making myself go off video and thinking it's my microphone. My apologies. To answer resourcing venue guides, I think really, I think if it's included in something that you're like a project that you are doing as an organization to better your practices, and actually Sean at Tangled Arts introduced me to the concept of better practices, because everybody is really trying to do their best. But there's always space to maybe do something more, do something differently. But I think if it's included in another project, you can always engage a consultant, and really just think of, Rachel also made a really good point of making sure your patients are involved and acknowledging their time and their contributions to whatever work you're doing to improve accessibility. So in terms of funding actually designated for venue guides, not sure. But if it's included in a larger project, I think you could then solicit public funding.
And I'm picking up on what Rachel said before. Rachel, maybe that's what you're going to say, but to make sure that it's always updated. as well. It's not just sitting there and then 5 years later, everything is just not relevant anymore. Then it's pointless because actually you're inducing people in error, right? You could create more harm by not making sure that it's actually accurate to what they will encounter. Yes, Rachel.
Thanks, Fanny. I was going to say that. And then I was also going to say, sharing, right? Talk to other venues, to colleagues, talk to people like Artsbuild, talk to Ontario Presents, or even, the Community Presenters Network, or, talk to people and say, in those networks and say, what are you doing? What have you done? Oh, can I take a look at your venue guide? Because the idea is not to make it proprietary. The idea is to make access accessible. And if your wording ends up being the same as the other two venues down the street, great, because now I know they're all the same. It's standard. I get it. It makes sense to me. We're following a pattern, right? So don't worry about that. Obviously, credit people where credit is due, pay people where people need to be paid, but definitely, sharing is caring. And I just want to reference this comment from Lisa in the chat box. If I may just read it aloud. One of the things I appreciated most about an annual conference I attended for decades, someone on the local arrangements committee would document all the necessary steps to get from the airport to the hotel or from the Amtrak station to the hotel, making it easy to take public transportation instead of the expense of taking a taxi. I love that. As a former stage manager, we used to do that when artists were coming in for the summer and they were new to the place. We put these little kits together. And when I started working on relaxed performances and sort of accessibility in the arts, that's how I viewed the guide. It's a kit. What is it going to take for you to know everything you can to relieve that stress? So thank you for sharing, Lisa. I think that's great. And then I have one other comment because, my time's over, so I'm just going to take up all the question time. But I really wanted to talk about the virtual tours, Alex. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Recently, I'm working with the National Ballet currently. And if you go to their Relaxed Performance page, there's a venue guide, there's a fact sheet, and then there's a video of the venue guide. So it's the same, it's not photos, like they didn't film the guide, but they used all of the text from the venue guide and used the same locations as were in the pictures of the still guide to move that along, which was really great. And then in 2018, I was at the Lincoln Center for the Big Umbrella Festival, which was the first festival of arts specifically for autistic children. And one of the companies made their own venue guide, and they did them in character. So also we're getting to know the character a bit more. The video took them right from when they walked in up through the elevator, and it showed them in the elevator playing music with the audience and walked them through. And so, with kids nowadays on their tablets and adults, I love my tablet, we like to watch and rewatch the same thing over and over again because we're absorbing that. So if you can take that venue guide virtual or create a virtual tour, it's fantastic. End of thought.
Fanny speaking here. To go a bit further into this, Rachel and Alex, I'm wondering if you have tips for getting feedback from people, potential and actual users of access guides and venue guides. What would you do to make sure that the message is actually well received, well understood, and that the format is correct, the format works? Like, what tips can you give us?
Oh, sure. I'll go first. Rachel, you're muted, so I think I'm up. That's a great question, Fanny. In my opinion, and having, I think of it like the toolkit that Artsbuild worked on, for example. Oh my gosh, 3 years ago now. How many? 2019 is 3 years. So we worked with an accessibility advisory committee, and that we put together with people that we felt could contribute to that subject for Artsbuild and what we were trying to achieve. So if I think about a venue and trying to do something similar with a visual guide or a venue guide, I think about all the heads that you want to be a part of that conversation and who know the operations of your organization, who know the strategy of your organization, and those who are experiencing it at every level. So I would, if it were me getting feedback on that, I would put or make sure that you are consulting with those internally, and also make sure that there's representation included. So if that representation is not established in your organization, what are you doing about that? First of all, do you have a plan in place to address representation? And then the second thing is, going outside of that circle and making sure that that input is provided by a good number of people. So that would be how I would look at feedback, and then also being open to updating it, which is what Rachel also pointed out. It's an evolutionary document. The more people that organizations that implement this, the more it becomes the standard, and then we move further along. So things do change. Even 3 years ago, our toolkit could absolutely use a refresh. So those are my thoughts.
This is Rachel speaking. Yes, to everything Alex said. And then for me, I work with community consultants. So again, it's like that community advisory. There are people that come in, look at my work, maybe do a site visit with me, check things to see if it's the way that works for them or for their community members. Obviously, not all community members are the same. And then, of course, I pay those people for their expertise, their lived experience, and their time. Yes, definitely. And then feedback, really, again, from the audience perspective, don't be afraid to send out a feedback form, right? Don't be afraid to ask someone, hey, I've noticed that you've come to, and you've used this venue guide. Can you help me? Or I noticed that, you've had an issue accessing CoCheck. Can we talk about that? End of thought.
Fanny speaking here. I would say that this really ties in with the question of evaluation and observation. So making sure that staff, volunteers, frontline people, and everybody else is observing what is going on during the full performance, not just the performance, but from arrival to exiting the venue. How are people behaving? How do they use the space? Do they look puzzled? Do they look happy? Are they anxious? Are they angry? A lot can be observed. And so that can be part of the training, to have observation kind of grids and then protocols to respond to perceived, let's say, anxiety or, if people look unsure. And that leads me to my next question to both of you is, how can either a venue or a performance series working with a venue, how can they work internally to maintain this work? So my question is a little bit about the question of champions and committees. Should you have one champion, but then they leave, and what happens? How do you keep people trained? How do you keep people motivated? How do you keep, and again, that's staff and volunteers, how do you keep them accountable? How do you keep them proud and happy to be doing this work instead of anxious and, afraid of consequences for not being good enough? I can see, Rachel, you're nodding.
Yeah, thanks, Fanny. You know what? That's a really good point, because often when I have first gone into organizations, there's 1, 2, or 3 people that are like, oh, let's do this. And it may be because they're just awesome human beings, or it may be because they're personally impacted by disability or familially impacted. And they see the benefits of creating accessible spaces. So what happens when they leave? I mean, creating that culture of inclusion. I have a little tiny sort of comparison that I use, if that's okay. So what's the difference between access and inclusion? So access is like having your beginner's driver's license. You can go places, you can do things, but there always has to be somebody with you. You can't go after dark, you can't go on a highway. Whereas inclusion is like having your full driver's license. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, and get there however you want. So the idea is to really allow people to understand that, and to create a positive experience for everybody involved, to let people know, yes, we're working towards this, and it's going to be beneficial to the community and to your patrons and to your staff. but to do it in a very respectful and positive manner as well, I think. And that's what builds that culture within an organization. You don't want to go in and say negative things immediately and do it this way and be very strong. Yes, we want things to change, and things have to change, and things need to change. But really, at the same point in time, there's no reason why we can't maintain a positive culture and community. And I think that goes a long way, and that sort of trickles through. And then also, once people come to a performance that is created with access needs in mind, and they see how successful it is, and they see the audience, I think they're won over personally. End of thought. Alex?
Alex speaking, start of thought. I think that yes to all of that, and then also, really getting that infrastructure in place in the organization so it's not reliant on one person who's really championing it on behalf of the org. Your strategic plan is something you always check in with you, and you renew it, and you can renew it and prioritize even more from learned experience from the years before. And then the staff training, I think, is important. Refreshing that training. Again, new approaches are developed, and new resources are always available. And like carving out that professional development time for your staff and volunteers, like prioritizing it and making sure everybody's on the same page. And that's what promotes that culture. So it's thought of just as much as printing programs. Is everybody ready to be accommodating and create that accessible experience? End of that.
Wonderful. Fanny speaking here. We've got a few minutes left, and maybe to close this topic, I'd like to ask Rachel and Alex to give us some quick tips, quick wins, top tips, however we want to make that happen. What can people who are here with us today do, maybe now, today, or tomorrow, for no money? What can be an easy change? What have you noticed in your practice that actually makes a difference? It could be behaviors, attitudes, and I'm going to leave that open to you, and maybe you can take turns to give us a bit of a yes and rounds. Just to let's hear it from you. What have you seen that actually doesn't need to cost any money and can be done quite easily and makes a real difference for people who we want to welcome into our venues and performances? Over to you.
Oh, you're pointing. Okay, Alex speaking. I'm being pointed to, so I think I'm being put on the spot. Quick wins. Really just making it a part of like the building tour. So Arts Build Ontario, we operate a building called 44 Gawker Creative Workspace. We sort of practice what we teach in many ways with our own building. So wherever we're doing a tour, we do point out those access points to people, and they like, yeah, that's part of it. Part of my program. That's what I'm doing. And then in other quick wins, just signage, just communication. You cannot communicate enough. I mean, there is such a thing as too many signs, I think. But making sure your signs are clear and saying the right things. It does. Maybe that is a little bit of money. But it can go a long way, and it doesn't take a lot to get there. So I would say those are the two things, just showing people where the access points are, and then just signage.
Yeah, I agree. Although I think you can have like signs, and more signs. But yes, so a couple things. One, and this maybe is sort of staffing. Empowering your front of house and box office staff to relax in their process and their approach. Front of house staff are often, they have a tough job, right? And they have to like maintain the safety of the audience and all the rules and the regulations. So really letting them know that you're expanding your access points, why, how, and who it's going to impact. So that's like an internal training, right? Or even like a briefing. So I think that's really important. And giving your staff, everyone in the organization, a copy of your work and why you're doing it. So we are creating this venue guide because we want to take this step forward. And then also, in internal staff meetings, if you're on Zoom, give a visual description, say end of thought, let people know, why you're doing these things, make those active offers within your core admin staff as well. End of thought.
It's wonderful. Thank you, Alex and Rachel. I think we can come to a close now, because what I realize is that we can really take all these quick tips, quick wins, whichever it is, to our session on Friday. And our coffee chat on Friday, which is 10:30 to 11:30, is also a really good space to practice being inclusive, thinking about visual descriptions, thinking about speaking clearly, which, it's also something that I always try to get better at. So do come to join the coffee chat if that's available to you, 10:30 to 11:30 on Friday. You just need to register. You can write to Lauren, or Lauren can stick something in the chat to explain how to register. It's important for us to know who's there, how many people, and your access needs, so that we can really, we can design for people in the room. And that's the essence of what we are working on today, what we're learning together. So before I turn things back over to Lauren and Terry-Lynn, I really want to thank Rachel and Alex for these very thoughtful presentations, and for sharing their own journeys and their own internal changes, because we all need to practice all these changes of behavior and mindsets. I'm now passing on to Lauren. That's the end of my thoughts.
Thank you, Fanny. This is Lauren speaking. Thank you, Fanny, for your recap and your great hosting. Thanks as well to the following. Of course, the Government of Ontario for the generous funding of this Enabling Change project. Alex and Rachel for your amazing expertise. Our art service organization partners, Ontario Presents and Réseau Ontario, and particularly Dr. Terry-Lynn Brennan for her welcome to the land. All my colleagues behind the scenes. It's International Women's Day, and we have a wonderful team of women working on this. Boran Zaza, Trisha Talresha, Penny and Rachel as well in the prep. All of our interpreters, ASL, LSQ, French, English, and captioning. Everyone attending today for sharing the space with us. Please complete the feedback survey. It's in the chat, and there's also a QR code that you can use on the screen. You'll receive a copy of the slides, links to some of the examples shared in the chat, and a recording via email after. You'll also receive some materials to participate in a Tell a Friend campaign. We've still got 3 more sessions. The next is on March 29th on programming for deaf and hard of hearing communities and blind or low vision communities. Great panel of artists and folks working in this. And now I'm going to pass the mic back to Terry-Lynn to close our time together. Thank you. End of thought.
So as we reflect on the teachings and learning shared here today, I especially want to give thanks to all who brought their hearts and minds to this important circle, everyone that could join us, the team at Orchestras Canada, and especially Rachel and Alex for certainly expanding this conversation in an amazing way that gave me lots of thoughts to ponder. Especially as someone who also works on the heritage side of culture. And many of your thoughts are well imprinted on me as to the various conversations that need to happen across the wider cultural sector, I have to say. I now want to wish you all a safe journey to your next destination today. Before sunset on this glorious day, if you do have the sunshine that we have here in Southern Ontario. And I wish you all a wonderful end to your day. Thank you so much for coming, and Skanya Gaha, be well in peace. Nyawago. Bye.